Okay, today is Friday, June the 2nd, and most of these plants at this point are about a month old. All pretty much started at the same time. I had to replant some basil and oregano, I think, cresspedia, a couple things, but in general, these things are about a month old at this point, so I just want to document where everything is at. So we'll start over here with the peppers. I'll put a picture of the variety on the screen. These are a smaller pepper plant that produces smaller fruit, so I'm hoping that this year we'll get more peppers a lot quicker. That down there is feverfew. Really, it filled in so beautifully, and as with the case with most of these plants, this is ready to be up-potted or transplanted. So, this, I think, is lemongrass. I tried growing lemongrass in its own dedicated pot and I had no luck. And this came up in a pot nearby, and I thought maybe I dropped a seed in because it does appear to be lemongrass. So I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think that's what it is. Back here we have 2 containers of lemon balm, which I'm growing for tea this year, my first time trying. Apparently it has a lot of medicinal qualities to it. And I have learned as of last year that tea is one of my favorite things to grow. There's also one little lemon balm plant down there that I gave his own pot to. These 2 cells right here are the cresspedia. These are a beautiful flower that is on a tall, long stem with like a yellow globe at the top, full of little tiny yellow clustered flowers. So those 2 are ready to be separated out and up-potted. These are hashiko, I think it's hashiko or hashiki bunching green onions, and they're very, very young still, but they're just coming up and starting to get strong. The first container of oregano, I tried Greek oregano this year. That was the first one I planted, and I accidentally killed a lot of the seedlings in this container with Castile soap when I was trying to kill some fungus gnats. Live and learn. A couple of them survived and they look nice, but I did replant, so this little cup is a few weeks behind, but I've got a lot of babies in there and I'm sure I'll have some good luck in there, so I'll have more plants. I want to grow a lot of oregano, and I'd like to get it into one of my garden beds as a perennial, so wish me luck on that. This container here is black-eyed Susans, and they are ready to be transplanted out and separated. Same with the yarrow. Got several healthy little plants in there. That's my time, and I was watching the other video I made and I was saying how I should have planted more, and I went to grab more seed, you know, shortly after that other video was made to replant, and I realized, oh, I was out of seed, and that was the only seed I had left, so that's why I planted so few. But I'm happy to have a little bit, and I'll have to order some more seeds for another time. No pun intended. These are all teddy bear sunflowers, and a couple of them have 2 in a cup like this one, so I need to get these guys separated out so they can get a little bigger. But the ones in the back have a cell all to themselves, and you can see they're a little bit larger, so the more space you give these guys, the bigger they get. And I have a couple over on another rack I'll show you that have larger cups, and they really are a lot larger. So In the back there we have the Cosmos, 2 varieties, double click. I've only got these 2 double clicks. I did replant them. I had very poor germination and they did not germinate, so I only got 2 plants. I'm not sure if the packet of seeds I got was a dud or what. They were brand new and they just did not come up for me. But in the back here I've got several plants of the variety called Dazzler. So those are looking good. Several marigold plants down here. How many do I have? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got about 6 of them there, and they are really coming along. That's the lemon drop variety, and they're just a delight. Just this morning they had their first buds forming, and I pinched them off. That's my strategy. Until they get a little bushier and fuller with the foliage, I just take a lot of the buds, the early buds, off so they can put their energy into creating a more lush plant. Got tons of zinnias, a couple varieties. This particular cup, oop, I ran out of hand space there. These are the cut and come agains. And I guess it doesn't matter. I won't search out the labels on all of them, but they are all labeled. Like this one might be easy to figure out. These also are cut and come again zinnias. But I have a whole tray here to the left, which I'll segue over to. And there's a variety in here. I believe I'm growing State Fair and a variety called Luminosa elegans. They are a pink, supposed to be a pink variety with a very large flower. And so they're all mixed up, but since the last video, I've definitely taken them out and given them their own cups. So everything's separated out. And actually went to the nursery and got these little cups because I didn't have enough. And yeah, I've got all of them separated, so it's great. This whole area here is the different varieties of zinnias. So I'm going to have a lot of zinnias this year, which makes me very happy. They're one of my favorite flowers to grow. All these guys are the Mexican midget tomato plants, and I have also done the same thing, given them their own cups. And I gave special care, like, to the ones that I grew from my own saved seeds, which is this cluster here in the front. But I had some store-bought seeds that also eventually came up, and I have them all in the same pot here. But they look really healthy, so I probably have way too many than I need, so I'll probably be giving some of these away, like last year. In the back I've got a zucchini plant, and there's a few others over here. I had a brief intermission there, but I'm back here, and what I was saying is I originally planted several zucchini seeds and only got one, which is that one right over there. But I wanted more than that, so I went and replanted. So I've got 2 more here, and they're not quite as old, but they actually look pretty well caught up. The other one is starting to flower a little bit and probably needs to get planted into the ground like ASAP. So I have a little bit more time with these guys. But yeah, I wanted more zucchini. I never get a good yield on zucchini, at least not yet. Maybe this will be the year. Here, like I was saying, I have a couple teddy bear sunflowers that are larger, and it's because they have larger pots. It makes a huge difference. And actually, now that I think about it, the teddy bear sunflowers over in that cell there, I did replant a couple seeds over there because I didn't have germination in every cell, so some of them are a little bit older, which would explain why they're so much larger too. This plant here is the mystery yellow flower. Like I said in the last video, I had grabbed some seeds out of a neighbor's yard one year. It was like a beautiful daisy-like yellow flower. And I planted the seeds and got 3 plants, and the one in the middle has really taken off. I'd like to separate these guys out though and give them their own space. and I'm really curious to see what that will actually become. Back here in the middle, we've got about 6 lacinato kale plants, all pretty much needing to be transplanted at this point, but hanging on. And only one red Russian kale right here. I planted several seeds and I only got 1 plant, so I haven't gotten around to planting more, and I figure the dino kale will be plenty, hopefully. But yeah, I might succession sow that once I have a dedicated area, because we love our greens, and the grocery store is pretty unreliable for good-looking greens. Everything over here are these are the gherkin hocus cucumbers, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 of them here, and they're looking great. Last night I gave everything a little bit of fish emulsion, and I did a little spray treatment on the surface of something called BT to help with the fungus gnats. It will help kill the larvae. So yeah. Actually, I think I forgot to go over the basils. Last but not least, I have 2 really nice looking basil plants, and I have a couple other small plants that I'm hoping will catch up. I had trouble germinating basil this year. I think it had something to do with the vessel that I chose to plant in, and when I would water these cells, it would wash the soil around too much, and it really did disrupt the seeds and put them down too deep. So live and learn. Next time I'll be more cognizant of that. I know I spoke to the spearmint and catnip in my last video, and basically I grew catnip and spearmint from seed last year, and at the end of the season I put the plants upstairs in the attic, and they looked pretty rough, but I would water them every few months and make sure they were still alive. I did lose one of the spearmint plants, but I was able to retain some plants for sure, and what I did is by the time they started coming back in the spring, they got real leggy. So the initial plants started throwing out shoots that got real they just didn't look healthy, but the shoots had good leaves on them, and these, what you're looking at here, are all of the cuttings. So I cut all the legginess, all the leggy shoots off and put them in water, and the spearmint actually rooted in the water, and then I went and transplanted them into this pot. And just now I'm starting to notice I think it's finally established, so it's starting to grow. Now the catnip never put roots down when it was in the water, but the stems looked very healthy the whole time. So I just took a leap of faith and I put the stems right into the dirt, even though they hadn't rooted yet. And lo and behold, I think they must have rooted at this point, because everything is starting to grow a little bit and fill in and look very nice. So that's what you can do when you have really scraggly plants that you've overwintered that are perennial, and they start to come back in the spring and they just look terrible. They're like growing outside of the pot and over the edges. You can clip all the cuttings off, root them, and put them in pots to start new plants. So it's a great way to propagate things. And I'm actually gonna get some footage of the originals. Over here are the 2 original catnips. Getting a little bit drowned out by this rose here. And they are also starting to grow. Now these plants are root bound, so I still like to pull them out of the containers and tend to them, get them into larger pots with some fresh soil. But they're growing, and they don't look like the healthiest specimens, but given the right conditions, they'll come right back. Before I head into the back for myself, I just wanted to document this sage. These are also plants that I grew last year and overwintered in the attic. They look really rough right now, and it's because they're in these itty bitty tiny pots. I never intended to keep them in pots that small all this time. Sage is a perennial, so what my plan is to get these guys potted into either the ground or in a pot and regenerate them. You can see the new growth though is actually looking really good, so there's hope for these plants yet. But again, you can see how leggy they get. This is sort of what happened with the catnip and the spearmint. You know, they're probably trying to find the ground, and that would go down and probably root. So I may do cuttings again. I'm not sure how I'll handle this, but I'll keep you posted. And over here is just parsley that I grew last year that I am letting go to seed. So hopefully I actually get some seeds on that because I'm out of parsley seeds. I did try growing a few things, just coming full circle. In the last video I was talking about rosemary, parsley, sage, lemongrass didn't come up. A couple things didn't come up, and I think it's because of a couple things, and I'll go into that another time, but I think some of the seeds were getting older, and also they need a little bit of cold stratification, just to sort of touch on that briefly. Just a quick pit stop. This is our Shasta daisy planter in the back here. We're starting to see some blossoms forming. So that's exciting. This plant always gets hit really hard with aphids and strange bugs. One that sort of like makes a foam. I don't know, it's weird. I spent a lot of time like squirt bottling them off, but this is the chamomile, and I have diligently been picking the flowers every single day to get as many as I can. Apparently, if you do that, the plant will put more flowers out, and that's the point. I grow this for tea, so the goal is to have lots of flowers. I have some really beautiful footage of the chamomile plant from when it was very young and as it was growing over the last few weeks, so I'm going to merge some of that footage in right now. Yes, this is the original spearmint planter, and it's really filling in nicely. It didn't look this nice at first. I'll merge in some photos of how it looked before, and this is a plant I took cuttings from and propagated in those pots that I just showed earlier. And as you can see, the roses have bloomed, and I'm gonna merge in some footage of them from the last few weeks when they were just starting to open and they looked really just pristine. So I'll go ahead and merge that footage in here.